Her hands trembled only slightly as the words "sentenced to death" echoed across the chamber. No one spoke. No one moved. A hero turned convict. Her fate was sealed. What the Duke did next would shake the very foundation of justice. Sarah Mills wasn't just any officer. She served in some of the most dangerous districts in the state, always with her partner, the Duke, by her side. The Duke wasn't just her canine companion, he was her family. They said she broke into a house without a warrant, chased an unarmed suspect, and shot him in cold blood. The defense struggled. Key footage had gone missing. Body cam data was corrupted. Witnesses were suddenly hard to find. And worse, Sarah refused to blame anyone else. She wouldn't drag others down just to save herself. Outside the courthouse, protests broke out. Half the town still believed in her innocence. The other half wanted her punished. But the jury didn't take long. The verdict, guilty. The sentence, death. Gas filled the room. Sarah barely blinked, but in the back, unnoticed by most, sat the Duke. His ears perked. His body stiffened. It was as if he knew what had just been said. He let out a low, mournful whine, one that echoed deeper than any courtroom silence ever could. Sarah was taken away that night. No goodbyes, no explanations, just cold metal and harsh lights. The Duke was pulled from her side, leashed, and taken to a K-9 facility. But what no one realized was that the Duke had already begun planning something no one thought possible. At the K-9 facility, the Duke was unlike any other dog. He didn't eat for days. He ignored the commands of the handlers, even the simplest ones he had once obeyed without hesitation. He wasn't just sad, he was grieving. Every time someone passed by his kennel, he stared with unblinking eyes like he was waiting for someone who never showed up. Trainers tried everything: toys, treats, even reintroducing him to other dogs he had once trained with. But the Duke didn't budge. He sat at the corner of his kennel, his head resting on the cold floor as if the world had gone silent. One night, when a handler tried to move him to another section, the Duke growled, not out of aggression, but defiance, as if to say, "I'm not leaving until she comes back." The staff finally gave up trying to retrain him. They marked him as emotionally unstable and labeled him unfit for duty. Plans were made to retire him early or rehome him, but that too proved difficult. The Duke rejected every potential adopter. He either growled or completely ignored them. He didn't want a new home. He wanted his partner. One handler, an older man who had worked with K-9s for decades, watched the Duke with heavy eyes. "I've never seen loyalty like this," he murmured. "It's like he's waiting for something, or someone." Earlier that week, one of the young handlers had forgotten to latch his kennel properly. The Duke hadn't moved then, but tonight he did. He slipped through doors left ajar. By the time they noticed he was missing, the Duke had already made it through the main gate. They searched for hours. Officers spread out across the perimeter, but there was no sign of the German Shepherd. What no one realized was the Duke wasn't lost. He was headed somewhere very specific. Somewhere only he remembered. The courthouse. The last place he saw Sarah alive. But more than that, he remembered the route from the courthouse to the prison where she was being held. K-9 training had etched every detail into his mind. Routes, buildings, guard habits. This wasn't a random escape. This was a rescue in the making. Inside the prison, Sarah sat alone in a dimly lit cell. Her trial was over. The sentence delivered. The appeal denied. Tomorrow was set for her execution. She stared at the concrete floor, hollow-eyed, her spirit shattered. Then, a bark. At first she thought it was in her head, but the barking grew louder, more frantic. "The Duke," she whispered, rising from the metal cot. Suddenly, chaos erupted. Officers rushed toward the West Wing. Shouts echoed down the hallways. "There's a dog in the facility. How did it get in?" Before Sarah could comprehend what was happening, a furry blur skidded outside her cell door. The Duke. His coat soaked. Eyes locked on hers. He whimpered, pressed against the bars. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks. "The Duke, you came." Something inside her shifted. A spark returned. Hope. The guards reached them moments later. Weapons, raised, but they paused. This wasn't just a dog. This was loyalty in its rarest form. And for the first time in days, someone questioned whether Sarah really belonged behind those bars. The warden, a man hardened by years of rule and discipline, entered the hallway with 2 armed guards at his side. His eyes locked onto Sarah and then quickly darted to the Duke. The dog's presence had disrupted the atmosphere like an electric charge in the air. "What is this?" the warden demanded, his voice firm but with a flicker of doubt. Sarah stood, trembling but resolute as the Duke positioned himself protectively in front of her, growling low in his throat. His stance spoke volumes. This wasn't just a dog. This was a companion. A symbol of loyalty that transcended the walls around them. The warden's eyes narrowed. "Are you telling me this dog came for you?" Sarah swallowed hard, then nodded slowly. "Yes, he did. He's never left me. Not once. He's my family." A long silence fell between them. The warden hesitated, his tough demeanor faltering in the face of the Duke's unwavering devotion. Could this dog truly understand the situation? Could he sense Sarah's desperation? The air was thick with tension. But then the Duke took a step forward, standing tall as though ready to challenge anyone who would dare take Sarah away. The guards hesitated. Something inside them stirred. The warden stood there eyeing the Duke with a mix of disbelief and uncertainty. The room was thick with the weight of unspoken questions. Was the dog truly a threat? Or was it something else? Something far more profound than anyone could comprehend. The guards flinched, unsure of what the dog might do next. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, but what happened next shocked everyone. Weeks later, something unimaginable happened. After new evidence surfaced, thanks in part to the Duke's dramatic actions and a viral security recording, the case was reopened. An anonymous whistleblower had come forward, revealing tampered evidence in the original reports. Sarah had been framed. And the Duke? The Duke had sensed the truth all along. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the judge delivered the verdict. All charges dropped. "Sarah Mills, you are free." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she looked at the Duke, who sat quietly by her side, in the courtroom wearing his old K9 badge around his neck. The entire room stood in silent awe. The same dog that had once been seen as a threat had become a symbol of justice, loyalty, and hope. As Sarah walked out of the courthouse a free woman, reporters swarmed around her, but she didn't say much. She just knelt down beside the Duke and whispered, "You saved me. I'll never forget that." In the days that followed, Sarah and the Duke started over in a quiet town. She opened a small dog training center to help troubled dogs, especially former canines like the Duke. And as for the Duke, he never left her side again. If you believe in the power of loyalty, love, and the unbreakable bond between a human and their companion, then hit that like button, share this story with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Every animal has a voice, and it's up to us to listen. Together, we can continue to share these incredible stories of courage, hope, and resilience. Join us as we explore more tales of the deep, unspoken connections between humans and the animals that change our lives forever. Remember, our journey of understanding starts with a single connection. So let's listen, and let's speak for those who can't.